Testing. Shall we start? Okay. I guess everyone is familiar with this formula, right? Yes. The very famous physicist that called Einstein, he introduced this mass energy formula to us. But today we are not going to talk about physics. We redefine this formula by introducing M as maximizing and C as capturing in China. So to maximize the value of C's in the Singaporean market and also to capturing the opportunity of growth in the Chinese market. Good afternoon, dear judges, ladies and gentlemen. We are ex-ladies consulting team. First, allow me to introduce my teammate. This is Vera, Constance, Sunshine, and me, Daisy. And now the project begins.
During our presentation, we are going to surround that CES was the voice of the sustainable energy in Singapore, but it faced a problem that how to overcome the behavioral barrier to waste collection in Singapore and how to expand the reach of CES beyond Singapore. We raised up the recommendation that how to maximize the value of CES in Singapore and capture the new opportunity of expand the new market in China, which can help the stakeholders can benefit from CES sustainable efforts. From these figures, we can know that the global energy demand increasing every year from 1990, and especially the renewable energies still increase with this trade, and we consume that this trade will also increase in 2035, which means that the renewable energy play a more and more important role in the world energy industry. Looking at Asia regional capacity of renewable energy, which means that the Asia country, they have a stable increase with their renewable energy compared with the other area of all over the world, which means that the renewable energy market in Asia will have a higher growth potential. And looking back of Singapore, the Asian country think highly of the sustainability, and lots of the Singapore energy they from the waste recycling material. And look at this these items. It shows that the food waste are the lowest recycling rates in all these compared with all these items, which means that the recycling food has the potential to become the renewable energy material. And looking back of the reasons why IoT company have failed, because of the residents' low awareness of the waste segregation and high contamination levels at 30 to 40 in the food waste collected. And it makes the IoT company to reach in the situation of low efficiency and unbudgeted expense of incinerative fees. Therefore, how to overcome the structural and behavioral barriers to waste recycling, especially the waste collection section, is what the CES Association need to be considered. Looking through this Asia country of the other, especially Singapore. Focus on the green point, which shows that the renewable energy take the advantages of the whole energy expanding. It shows that the renewable energy in the other Asian country, it takes a small part, which means that the renewable energy has a great potential in the future in other Asian countries. Therefore, how to expand the reach of Singapore of CES beyond Singapore, while increase the adoption of food waste to the energy. All in all, consider all this situation and the stakeholders of CES. CES devote itself to develop the clean and stable energy to achieve the sustainable growth for their stakeholders, and which means that we need to solve these key issues to deal with this problem. We raise up our strategies of maximizing and capturing.
The maximize strategy is going to cross the structural and behavioral barriers in recycle waste, especially the waste collection. So we need to figure out that what is the key problems to this point. So we know that how to persuade people to solve the waste by themselves is the key challenge. So we recommend companies to use the head, hand, and heart programs. Head means to educate them, to give them the social media and also hold some community activities. And hand means to give them some power, to motivate them to take action to solve the waste by themselves. We can give them some incentives and we will supervise their behavior. And the heart means that we will help them to build up the ability to form a good habit of sorting the waste in the daily life. And we found out that in Singapore, the head part is doing a quite good job. And we recommend that it should focus on the hand part and the heart part. There's a green trees account, this new idea. This is how it operates. That every family has a barcode, and the family they can use their rubbish bag printed with their own barcode with different colors to to separate from different kinds of waste. So when they throw their rubbish bag in the rubbish bin, and the waste collectors they collect the bags and will check it and will scope the barcode and will make a record. So the green trees account they can do a great benefit to the environment. The first one was to reduce the waste generation, because the waste value of each family can be recorded. So the more waste they produce, the more money they should pay. And the second one was to increase the waste recycling. It means that the waste collectors will give the credit point to the users who sort the waste. And the users can use these credit points to make a discount when they go shopping. So the more waste they sort, the more points they can get and profit they can get. And here is our profile of our customers, who they are. They are Singaporeans living in the high-rise buildings. You know, there are more than 90% of Singaporeans live in a high-rise building, but only 20% of the domestic waste is recycled. So we need to do more. And our customers, they will enjoy the discounts and will follow the rules. So it is good for them to benefit from the Green Trees account. For example, they can get recognition of various levels of environmental contributors, and they can also get credit points to get discounts, or they can just pay for as much as waste they produce. And next, my teammates will tell you how we capture the new opportunity.
Okay, just keeping in mind that simply staying in Singapore is far from enough. So we think that there is great necessity for cities to do the market expansion in those overseas markets. So here comes the problem. Where should we go? At the background of medium-term strategy, we actually do not recommend cities to go and seek for the new overseas market. So just based on the existing overseas market, like China, India, Thailand, Indonesia, and Philippines. So what's our expansion plan? Finally, we come up with three criteria to judge our alternative market. The first one is the government support, the funding. Second one is the material potential. It's mainly depends on the volume of food waste. And the final is the renewable energy demand. So based on these three criteria, we finally find that for Chinese market, it's actually having a rising government support on those projects. And secondly, for the market potential, it actually has a high rising food waste. And finally, for the renewable energy demand, as we all know, the Chinese market actually always has a high pursuit of renewable energy projects. So finally, decide our target market in China. But before we go deeper, let's see how is Chinese market. As the largest economy in Asia Pacific area, from 2010 to 2013, 70% of the national waste is actually from the food waste. What's more, for the household waste, it actually has a 61% of the food waste. So we conclude that the food waste might be more disturbing than one could imagine. And what's more, for the edible food thrown away, it's actually accounting for 10% of the national annual crop production. However, for those food thrown away, they actually can feed 250 million people in China. So we finally conclude that there is a great necessity to increase adoption of waste-to-energy solutions in Chinese market. So what might be our focus project in Chinese market? Yes, obviously is the getter oil scandal. As we all know, China's food safety problem have no better symbol than the disgusting gutter oil scandal. So how are we going to do? The first step is to decide which trial city are we going to. As you can see from this chart, in 2014, the Shanghai's gutter oil produced in China is actually rising up to 160 million tons. So we can see high market potential in Shanghai city. And then, what are we going to do? The first step to enter Shanghai city is to build membership. So which company are we going to cooperate with? According to our research, in Shanghai there is a Zhongqi company which has high pursuit of energy recycling and also is mainly famous for his oil water separator. So we recommend CIS to cooperate with this Zhongqi company. So what can he do for us? As an intermediary, he is responsible for the government and also the Zhongqi company's connection. For those Zhongqi company, it actually can provide sustainable funding from the government in Shanghai. And secondly, for the gutter oil in restaurants and also Zhongqi company, that actually is a good way for them to implement the corporate social responsibility.
So in order to implement the two strategies that we put forward with, here we designed a 5-year plan for CIS, which is also a medium-term plan. So for the first strategy, maximizing strategy, we strongly recommend CIS to conduct our project, which is the Head, Hand, and Heart project, as well as the Green Chase project, step by step, and also to collect the feedback and also to do the reward sustainability efforts. And for the second strategy, the capturing strategy, which is also the complementary strategy for our first maximizing strategy. So in the first 2 years, we strongly recommend CIS to conduct a preparation process to get more familiar with the Chinese market. And we also provide 2 key performance index for CIS to measure the implementation process when carry out these 2 strategies. So even if we made a comprehensive plan for CIS to implement our strategies, there are still some risks that CIS need to pay attention to. So we consider the risk and the mitigation plans and the contingency plans for our 2 strategies. So after the implementation process, what you'll be curious about is that what our stakeholders can benefit from the CIS sustainable efforts. So here we would like to discuss the 2 of the most important stakeholders for CIS. One is the member, the other is the government. So considering the needs of the member and government, CIS can satisfy their needs. So for example, in Singapore, apart from the financial training and the technical training, CIS also can the members in Singapore also can get the efficiency improved by our project. And for another example, in Chinese market, the technical company can get a cost reduction rate range from 27% to 41%. And also the net profit margin will be higher than the 11%, which is the industry level. So ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to provide more energy for CIS, to be the voice of sustainable energy industry in Singapore through our 2 recommendations, maximizing strategy and the capturing strategy. And we also hope that Singapore can be the regional hub for sustainable management solution. So thank you for your time. Now we are open for Q&A session.
Thank you very much. Sitting here as the C's, I'm just wondering, where does this leave us? Because basically we go to this Chinese company and they can take care of it. That's what I basically understand from your presentation. So I'm not so clear yet, maybe you can explain how, let's say, the experience in Singapore will be implemented into, let's say, Shanghai, because you actually are zooming in on Shanghai to get the most traction.
I think we may talk about the details of our capturing strategy. I mean, Shanghai actually the C's is actually acting as an intermediary. I mean, it's a connection between the government and also the the Zhongqi companies in Shanghai, and also for the restaurants, we are going to act as maybe the bridge to to deal with some like some sustainability, maybe the rules or details. I mean.
But I get a bit the feeling that you have reduced this whole project to a gutter oil project, and I think that's I won't say it's a simple project, but there you can just have hefty fines and just stop this nonsense and put it in the gutters, So I'm not, maybe it's me, but I don't see where C's plays a role in the gutter oil problem in Shanghai. So I hope you get what I mean. I don't see the overall project where it would, for us as being the board of C's, where we say, okay, where do we play the role?
Oh, you mean you want to know the details of the project, right?
No, I want to see how the C's we are here for the sustainability companies in Singapore, how we create a sustainable environment and the benefit also of this. And I don't know how we can have that from just from Shanghai.
Yes. Actually, the capturing strategy that we put forward is the complementary strategy for the maximizing strategy. You know that in CIS there are lots of members which are technical companies in Singapore, and they are good at the promoting the sustainable energy, and they are good at dealing with the gutter oil. So in this way, we enter into Chinese market and we cooperate with another company in China. So our member can also cooperate with the company in China, so they can get a win-win result. Yes.
Maybe I'll ask an angle of the same question, but in a slightly different form, in the sense that, have you considered what exactly would happen? Because you did mention that you would institute certain kinds of measures in Singapore. For example, you talked about waste separation, some penalties for amount generated, and some incentives for proper sorting, right? So where does that take us, for example, in the Singapore context, before we even go to maximizing it? How do you start, or how do you see it in the Singapore context? Because that would be probably your starting point for us as C's. Do you think that you would start it in Singapore for C's, or straight away you think the approach is into China?
In medium-term strategy, our focus is on Singapore. So go back to our implementation timeline. As you can see here, although they are implementing currently, as you can see here, the practical entrance into China will be from 2016, and in the first 2 years, we still doing the preparation process, which you know that China has huge potential in the sustainable energy market. So we don't want to lose this kind of opportunity. So we need to do the preparation process first. Thank you.
So I have to agree with some of the comments around how we seem to be going very quickly to a China set of solutions. I my bias is around Singapore and addressing some of the recycling rates and bringing them up in Singapore. So I'd like to focus in on that. I like the 3H strategy. I think that was very to the point and aligns to people. A couple of observations on this. Again, it comes down to enforcement. And you talked about in the green trace account, we reduce waste and you pay as you go. But I'm concerned that this is a broad recycling initiative as opposed to a food recycling initiative. And can you help me split out the two? Because you look at recycling rates going down, or going from 13 to 17, which I'm happy with, but I don't see how 3H and green trace will actually facilitate that. Can you help me a little bit?
The 3H project that the green trees account, it will collect, this is a recycling criteria. It will choose different kinds of waste and will separate them. Because the most challenging point was that the people don't want to sort the waste and put them together and throw it away. So it costs a lot of money to do a lot of disposable things. So we recommend that we can do the things at the first stage, that we encourage the people to sort the waste.
That's helpful. So you're approaching it roughly as recycling all up, and by reducing and sorting, we will actually increase our food recycling rates. That's the assumption I should make?
Yeah.
Good, okay, so I understand that. That's fine. One thing then, if I take it a step further, when I look at all up recycling rates for food in Singapore, we're at about 13%, correct? Today? I think the number's 13%, let's assume that. One of the things I haven't seen in the presentation is we're looking a lot at residential, but I haven't seen anything on the commercial side. Is there an assumption built into your proposal about how we would address whether it's the commercial side of it?
All right. Actually, for the barcodes, I think it's actually it's also suitable for those commercial stores, because they are actually they are going to have their own special barcode. I mean, for example, let's take a restaurant. Is okay? Restaurant. They are going to have their own, the bag, maybe the rubbish bag with their own special barcode. And also, we are going to deal with the, the rubbish collection just as the residents, I mean.
Okay. My last comment is, I see a nuance between residential and commercial collection being different, and one of the failures in IUT was we weren't able to, at the commercial level, have the appropriate collection nor the incentive for the merchants to allocate the time, the space, and the resource to facilitate that. So that for me would be a challenge again to the proposal.
Maybe if I just add on to that comment, still on your Green Trace program, I'm assuming that there have been other similar projects that have been implemented in other countries, which is probably where you took some of the ideas from. Looking at some of these case studies, shall we say, have there been any, what I would call lessons learned that you have seen from the other cases that would be important for us to take note of when we implement this in Singapore? And on the back of that, what are the, shall I say, critical success factors or things that must be in place for us to roll this out successfully?
Yeah, actually, their barcodes has been implemented in Shanghai. But in Singapore, it's quite different because we add another function that we will make a record of the waste volume. So we will so this quite this successful case of using barcodes is in Shanghai, and the residents in 12 simple communities in Singapore. In Shanghai. So they have now successfully reduced from 0.7 kilograms per capita from 0.82 kilogram.
So what led to this program being relatively successful? What were the success factors, the drivers behind the success?
One way of asking the question would be, you have your 3H program, head, hand and heart, How much of head and how much of heart and hand went into reduction from 0.7 to 0.82? Which was the main factor that drove that reduction? Would you know?
I think that the point to drove that is to give the incentives and to supervise the customers. And I think the head, hand, or heart, they cannot be evaluated by numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's a fair point. All I'm saying is, I don't want the numbers. I'm saying that what do you think was the main, of the three, which was the main driver that drove that reduction? Was it analytical way of looking at things, or it was more an emotional appeal, or it was through,
Actually, within our consideration, we may think that the heart process may be the most important. I mean, the heart process may focus on the building connections with the residents or the consumers. So we may think that the most important.
You've tried to address the impact of your strategies on some of the stakeholders. CS was set up as an association to assist the local Singapore companies to firstly be financially viable in Singapore, to look at legislations or to look at the overall framework here in Singapore. There are very few financially viable companies out there, whether they're listed or private. 2 food waste companies, EcoWise and another. Large waste recycling companies, sorry, the first one was EcoWise, second one was EcoWise, and BioHub. And BioHub's not doing well. They decided to go into properties like everyone else. Now, this is an industry that whether it's the board or the government would like to see flourish. Do you think that through your 3H program, do you think there'll be sufficient value or sufficient incremental value to these companies so that they become financially viable over time, or to allow even new players to come in?
Do you mean the company in Singapore or in China?
Just in Singapore first.
Singapore.
Just focus on this.
May I ask you, do you mean that how can the technical companies in Singapore, with the help of CIS, they can get the financial stability?
Okay, the simple question is, you have proposed this 3H. What do you think this 3H would provide benefit to the local companies here in Singapore so that they become financially viable? Do you think it will?
Yes, we do think it will. Just taking a look at the failure of the IoT company. The reason why IoT failed, they have 2 main reasons. The first one is the residents' low awareness of waste segregation. And the second reason is that because of the low awareness of waste segregation, so as a result, the high contamination levels at 30% to 40% of food waste collected. So it will cause the unbudgeted expenses of incineration fees. So through our hand project, so through the hub, we will educate our consumers so they can improve their awareness to segregating the waste. And through the second, the hand motivate them to take action to segregate the waste. So this will reduce the contamination of the food waste. So it will secure our cost to segregation the waste.
Okay, thank you.
With another suggestion, maybe we should bring Shanghai to Singapore. It's a kind of a reverse strategy. Because, and first of all, why you go to Shanghai with your project if Shanghai is already doing a good job, and so I'm really struggling with your proposal in terms of what does this do for Singapore, where do we benefit as let's say a representative of a lot of the businesses here, and I'm not too sure how to do this. From your proposal, I don't get any clear direction. This is good, very good, but this is just covering a small part of the population. How do I bring this into business where all our companies are going to benefit? Because that's why I'm still at a loss.
Do you mean that what's our business model in Shanghai?
In CEAS, we are representing the renewable energy and waste management business in Singapore. So how is your proposal going to benefit these companies here in Singapore? I don't see that. And because if you say we go to Shanghai, Shanghai does already a better job than Singapore. So why would we benefit from that as a Singaporean company? That's why I said bring Shanghai to Singapore.